Here you are.
Yeah, you like that?
Yeah.
I got graphics here. Oh, we're like state of the art in
These are
Tucson.
fancy.
Jack, first and foremost, dude, I want to say straight up, no bullshit. Dead Poet Society has been my favorite band for the last 3+ years.
Get
at
outta
least, at least, dude. It
No
started
way.
with In Too Deep,
Yeah.
right? And when I got that, when I heard that song, it was one of those songs that just kind of shake you to the core. And you're part of this class of rock bands that I look at kind of like a revival of like it's a post-pandemic rock called like post-pan. I'm trying to trademark that shit.
Post-pan, yeah.
Bands like a Tiger Cub and Bad Flower and fucking who else I fucking wrote down because I always forget names. Like Cleopatra, Highly Suspect, obviously.
Yep.
All this like guitar heavy, soft, loud, soft.
Yeah.
Style of music and stuff. So I'm very excited to have you in and join me so I could pick your brain a little bit.
Yeah.
With everything. Now we were talking about your tour schedule right off the bat and
Yeah.
your booking agent. So we're obviously this is like beef after dark, right? Because I'm
Okay.
usually the morning show guy and I am. But they got you on this run right now where you're touring in support of your latest album, Fishin'. For how many months?
I mean, for the US run, we've been on the road since April like 12th ish. But if we're talking the whole tour, we've left January 31st.
Right.
Yeah. So I've been on the road for nearly 4 months.
Jeez, yeah. And the US tour, how many days off have you had so far?
I mean, we try not to go more than like because of my voice, I try not to play more than 3 shows in a row before we get a day off. But that day off is usually a 10-hour drive. So, it's not really a day off.
Yeah. Now, speaking of your voice, you got like incredibly strong vocals, right? And it seems like you have a hell of a like octave range too. Were you classically trained at all when you were like growing up?
No.
When did you discover that you could hit these notes at such a powerful frequency?
I was kind of like sheer force of will. I think that, it's like I grew up not really singing that kind of music except for this one band called Alter Bridge. I listened to Miles Kennedy a lot, and I was like, how in God's name does he get up that high? You know? And so I like started trying to like do it, and I would just like shout and like go as high as I possibly could. I remember showing my friend, be like, look how high I can go. And he was like, it sounds like you're gonna blow your head off, dude.
Yeah.
So I kept trying it and kept working at it. And it wasn't until I really got maybe about midway through college when we started writing like low air and stuff like that I started to figure out, okay, I think I can do these things, and if I work with my voice, I can make it sound this way.
Well, and speaking of college, didn't you go to like a music college?
Yeah, we did. We went to
what was the college?
School was called Berklee College of Music.
Yeah, so that's a pretty legit college.
If you want to say that, I think it's overrated.
Well, what were you playing then? Because you're a musician, and to get into that college. So, what were some of the instruments that you grew up playing? Was it just guitar?
It was just guitar. Yeah, I got into Berklee on guitar, and then I remember I was sitting in a blues lab class like my like sophomore or junior year. And I was the last in line. There's like 15 guitarists. It's like a nightmare. It's just worst case scenario. It was like 15 guitarists trying to take a solo at the same time. So they're just going down the line. Each one of them is soloing, and it's getting closer and closer to me. And it gets to the guy right before me, and I just have this realization. I'm like, whoa, I suck at guitar, dude.
It's like 14 other dudes. And you're just like,
I was like, dang, I'm the worst person in this room. So I went right downstairs and I changed my principal to voice, and then I had a couple voice lessons, teachers, but I never practiced. I just
So what was your college experience like then? What was the Berklee School of Music like, the social scene, and were you just kind of is that where you clicked up with all the guys and started a band?
Yeah, we were kind of on the outside of all of that. We never got involved in like social circles of that sort of nature. It was just we always were doing our own thing, and it always seemed like this very cliquey, like who did what kind of scene. It's just against everything I feel with music. So we never really socialized that much, but I met all the guys there. We had a different bassist at the time who was one of Jack's childhood friends.
Okay.
And so when he left, we had a friend named Dylan, who's our bassist now, and he'd been filling in for years. So he was just a natural choice.
Nice. Well, was the friend was it Nick or something?
Yeah, Nick.
Yeah, Nick. Was he kind of like a wild man? Like when when you guys were going and touring Mexico a lot at first, were you getting in a lot of trouble? Was Nick getting in trouble and it was making it problematic? Yeah.
yeah. I mean, Nick was the only rock star to this day in this band, dude.
It's not sustainable.
No, it's not. Yeah. He's wild, man. I love him. I love him so much. And yeah, I remember this one time we were in Mexico, and everybody's always, I feel like as an American, you kind of have this like, ooh, like dangerous kind of thing, but it's really not,
Yeah, I love Mexico.
I love Mexico too. I've been down there 9 times now with the band.
Where would you play when you were going down there?
It was sometimes Baja California, and then the other times it was all Central and the Yucatan Peninsula. We did a bunch of tours down there with a couple bands, one called Sputnik and one called Beta.
Okay, yeah, and people in Mexico go crazy too, right?
Oh, they're awesome.
Yeah. Something about the closer you get to the equator, the more the energy is for these like rock enthusiasts. They go nuts.
Yeah, my genetics are not built for that weather, man.
No. Well, that's nuts too. As far as you like starting and then going on Mexico runs, which is not necessarily like the game plan for a lot of bands, right? So it's just who the bands you were clicked up with, and they're just like, hey, we're routing through Mexico and Central Mexico as well.
Yeah. So I mean, the way that came about was there's a guy named Joe Trouble, and he had a YouTube channel called Pepe Problemas.
Yeah.
And it's a very big YouTube channel down there, and he shouted us out on his YouTube channel, and we were like, oh, what? And so we like looked him up. Turns out he had a band. We're like, dude, we will open for you. Don't we will come down there and play. And he was like, okay, just let me know. And so we were like, sick. And so a few weeks went by, and we were like, we got to book those tickets. We got to go down there. So we got at the time we had gotten like $1,500 from some sort of sync that we got.
Were you living in Los Angeles or Boston?
Boston at the time.
Okay, so
this was like 2014, right? Way back.
Yeah, so you got to go all the way across the country and then to Mexico.
Right.
Yeah. Wow.
So we had $1,500 and the plane tickets were $1,500. So we were like sick. And so
what'd you do with your instruments? How'd you get your instruments down there?
We just carried them on the plane and everything like that. And we borrowed their amps, and we get down there and I emailed him back and I was like, hey, we booked the tickets for this time. He's like, oh, you're actually coming. Okay, sick. I'll book a tour. And so we booked a tour, and I mean, it's still some of my fondest memories, dude. It was so much fun.
Bet, dude. Yeah. First off, you're going down there initially, just going into the deep end of the rock star life. You guys are just like a baby band, really just started, and you get this great opportunity, and fearless, just say, fuck it, we're going to Mexico and going on a tour, dude. And I'm sure you still got like fanatics and fans from that first appearance down there. So I'm sure it's a bucket list to return on the grander stage.
To this day, man, we'll still have people come to the show, be like, I'm from Guadalajara. I'm from,
that's massive.
Veracruz, and like I saw you with Pepe Problemas, and that now I'm here. And I was like, that's so sick, dude.
That is massive, dude. You guys are like an overnight success 10 years in the making, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right,
and
yeah.
I like, so when you started, like initially you kind of felt that magic in the bottle with like the first song you wrote was like 145.
Right.
And you're just like, okay, this is it.
Yeah.
Right. When you were playing the Boston scene, did you create buzz like right away when you were playing? No.
I mean, because it's like everybody that you're inviting to the show is other musicians, so they're just judging the heck out of you, and And so
was it not like a collaborative scene in Boston as far as the music there, and then like did you have buddy bands that you ended up like billing with?
Yeah, actually, there was a band called oh my god, what were they? I don't know why my brain is drawing a blank, but a couple of our friends were in a band at the time, and they were really good. Unfortunately, they're not a band anymore, but they're all doing their own thing. They're all very successful at what they do, and so they were close friends of ours, and so we would link up with them and whatnot. But I mean, like, if there was collaboration, we never saw it. It was just we were weird outsiders.
Yeah. So what was the biggest draw you had before you were signed as like an unsigned local band? Like,
in Boston or just in
Boston,
general?
In the Boston area.
I mean, maybe we forced about 50 people to a show one time,
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
CT the Bears, I think it was. Yeah.
That's surprising because part of your reputation that precedes you is your fantastic live show. You know,
we put a lot of effort into it.
Absolutely, right. And the idea is, you know, a lot of people say it just sounds exactly like the record, right? Capturing that energy that you do live on a record is probably one of the most difficult things a musician can do. You know,
Yeah. I think, you know, I mean, Jack and I spent and Dylan, we spent a long time, like 2 or 3 weeks before the tour, just every single day trying to get these tones from the new record onto our, you know, Helix and Neurals, or like our amp modelers. And you know, I mean, but at the end of the day, I think when it comes to a live show, it's like, yes, be tight, yes, perform well, but
right.
like just be entertaining, you know? Like if you're up there having a good time and you are yourself up there as much as you can be, you
Right.
know, people are gonna have a good time too.
That's
you know?
true. Yeah. Also, I mean, I look at it as almost like a church-like experience. When the band's on that level, it gives that energy. You get that kind of goosebumps. You know, it's religious. You know,
Yeah, it
and you're
is.
just like, oh shit, again higher. You know,
And that's kind of the nice thing about the fact that it took us 10 years to get to this point, is that like you've played in front of nobody and people that really wish you weren't there for so long. You don't care anymore.
Right.
Like, so you have, it's like when we get on stage, it's like I have no insecurities because it's like I've already gone through everybody, you know, that doesn't want us there. And so it's like, I'm just going to be up here, and like, if you want to be a part of this, you can be a part of this, but I'm just going to have fun, you know?
Right. Yeah. Now, I went through, you know, the same thing, going through my career, but you know, I went through an entire month as I'm just trying to get everyone on the bandwagon, because I'm like, this is a hipster moment with Dead Poet Society. This is a get to know them now before they blow up kind of thing. It's an inevitable fact that, you know, I believe, you're a special class of musicians, a group putting together fantastic songs. And so I played Hurt every single day in January on the radio. I was getting in trouble for it. It's not even a single, dude, but I fucking love that song. And I'm like, I'm just going to play it every single day.
Oh, you can swear on here, dude?
Yeah, it's a podcast.
Oh,
yeah. I'll edit some stuff up, you know, but yeah, dude, I played it every single day because, again, it's one of those things where, you know, I gravitate towards music that's like Dark Sunshine, right?
Yeah.
So I could tell as a songwriter, as a lyricist, you write from like a dark place and a lot of times, and then you bring out this kind of beauty and this sunshine in the way that it's presented, right? So it's such of like, if you strip everything away and take the bare bones, you're like, I could feel this pain. Right. But then it's also just wrapped up in such a like positivity. Then you're like dancing and nodding along to it. That kind of contrast is what gravitates me to your music.
That's what I love. Yeah. I love when music or the lyrical content contrasts the musical content.
Yeah.
You know, it's something that the Killers are like masters of. Where they have these really upbeat songs, but they're about really depressing shit. You know?
Yeah.
Like Mr. Brightside is like, let's go get him. It's all about him thinking about his girl fucking another man. Like it's just like, or his ex-girlfriend, you know? It's like, yo, that's dark.
It's super dark. Yeah. But in bars, people are singing along, like, and a hand around their buddy, like, oh, Mr. Brightside. Yeah.
It's so it creates such a unique vibe. And, you know, like Jack wrote like 90% of the lyrics on that one, 95% of the lyrics on that. And when he showed it to the band, I was just like, oh, this is just perfect. Yeah. This is exactly what all of us have been going through. And this is like, it's no need to change anything.
Right. And so this collaborative effort that all of you kind of contribute, is just you and Jack that contribute to lyrics mostly?
Yeah. Jack and I mostly do all the melody and lyric writing, but it's not exclusive, you know. It's like once you bring it to the band, it's like everybody like goes like, yo, that word's cheesy, or like something like that. And so it gets ripped apart and eventually turns into like DPS. But like, Jack and I will, you know, show each other things.
Yeah.
You're very scared. You'll be very scared when you show the other person. But
because you're revealing this like raw emotion, right?
And then we're mean to each other too. So it's like, that's cheesy as fuck, dude. Like,
is that the Boston in you guys? Did you all grow up in Boston?
No. Okay. We're from all over. I was born in Boston, lived there till I was 7, grew up in Virginia, came back for college, and all the other guys in Minnesota, New York, and Jersey.
Okay. Yeah, but they still got some East Coast, and you know, there's no sugarcoating.
Yeah.
All right. Here's a 2-part question. What is a lyric of yours that you're most fond of? Because you know, as you're writing, you're doing these kind of schemes, and somewhat poetic that sticks out where you're like, yeah, I really like that, right? And the same question is, what is a favorite lyric that Jack wrote, the other Jack. So
yeah. Okay, so favorite lyric I've written. There's a song called Love You Like That we have.
yes.
And I wrote that one after I got out of a 9-year relationship.
Oh, 9 years,
Yeah,
huh? Wow.
yeah. So that one was very important to me. I mean, I don't know if there's a specific lyric from that song that really sticks out.
Just
but
the entire song. Was this initially like right after the breakup, your kind of therapy song?
Yeah. I think, it kind of slowly came together, but it was like everything, usually lyric writing for me is very hard because I don't think I'm naturally good at it. It takes a lot of effort for me to like string words together.
Yeah.
So, but that one is just kind of like section after section just kept popping out to me.
Right.
And it was almost as if my brain had been working on it in the background, while I write a verse and then write a chorus and then.
Did you have like a melody stuck in your head while you were putting it together, like a guitar riff?
No, I mean it started out like it started with that boom 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 kind of thing over and over, and I just started singing along to that, and like the first verse kind of popped out. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I sent it to Jack. He's like, yeah, maybe that'll be something. And then I was in Boston visiting a friend, and I was just sitting in this like old guitar shop in Alston, and I just started playing these chords, and the whole chorus just came out. I was like, cool, that's it, awesome. And then the song doesn't go back into a last chorus. It kind of goes into like this whole other section at the end.
Yeah.
And one of the sections kind of just came to me around that same time period. And then I remember I was in an airport in Salt Lake, and I was like, that section definitely needs to go twice, but I don't know what to say. And I was just standing there kind of like waiting in line to get my ticket scanned so I could get on the plane. And like, I just sang like all 4 lines that I wanted. And I was like, sick, the song's done. That's awesome. And so yeah.
Nice. So was this album then, Fission, is it essentially for you almost like a breakup album?
So yeah. Yeah, Fission was not about the Love You Like That person that was about. It was about a different person afterwards. Okay. But yeah, a lot of the songs in that relate to that period of time that I was going through.
That was a quick rebound. You break up after 9 years and then get your heart broken again. Like
it was a couple years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck, dude, you keep getting your heart broken just immediately.
Yeah, no. I kind of locked up shop after this past one. Yeah, but yeah. I mean, Fission is it's not just about that relationship, although there are quite a few songs in there about that period of time. But I was like, from moving to California in 2016, it's just been like chaos in the worst way possible. Ever since 2016 to like when I moved in with my friends like a year and a half ago, it's just a brutal period of life.
Right. And you went through pandemic during that time too. Were you signed or are you still unsigned, kind of chasing a dream?
We signed in 2020, right when the world shut down. So,
right. Yeah. So the timing wasn't on your side too. It's been an uphill battle from like the very beginning.
Oh yeah, dude. The only reason this band is here is through sheer force of will.
Yeah.
It's just been like a like a whirlwind of like the universe saying absolutely not, and us just going for it anyways. So
hey, you want something to drink here? I think this one has an energy in it.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, thanks, man.
I think that's natural and all that. So, I know that you guys just sound check and stuff, and I'm sure your vocals must be like killing you too.
No, actually, I a couple years ago I got a voice. I got 3 voice lessons from this girl named Erica Canales.
Okay,
and she's a singer backup singer for the Killers.
Yeah,
and she is just like road tested. All of her methods were like, you're gonna be on the road. I know what that's like.
Yeah.
So that was the first vocal coach I've ever had that's actually been, touring.
Right.
So all of her advice, like 3 lessons, just completely revolutionized the way I sang. And
that's amazing.
It's like my voice has just been getting stronger ever since. And it's nice. It's nice not having to freak out about it anymore.
Yeah. Well, it is a muscle, right? And if you know how to properly use it and exercise it and warm it up. So, just like if you're going into the gym, That's what every show is, right? So what's some of your process? Do you do the kind of like the bird calling and everything when you warm up? Like,
yeah, I mean, like vocal warm-ups are just like, I try to do them away from everybody because they are just the most goofy, unnatural thing you could possibly imagine.
right. Yeah, they always sound weird, right?
Yeah. I mean, I obviously by this point I know quite a bit about the voice, and so like it's a lot of creating kind of a low pressure area in your lower abdomen. So there's nothing pushing on your diaphragm. It can move freely. So when I start warming up, that's what I initially do, is that I just go like, ah, and I just focus on my teeth, like getting a vibration in my teeth and pushing my stomach out. And then like, once I get that going and getting the blood flow to the vocal cords, then I'll start trying to like play. I do this like, ooh, kind of thing where it's like I'll just it's like trying to connect the sort of rising tone all in one voice. It's hard to describe. With singing in general, since you can't see it, all of singing is taught through like metaphors, and then those metaphors, when you practice them, eventually evoke a sensation in your body.
Okay.
And so it's like whenever I try to teach people to sing, it's like, I know it's not going to make sense, but eventually like this metaphor will be like, oh, that's what that feels like. And it's
okay.
So,
what's one of the metaphors? Not that I'm good at put two and two together, but as an example.
Okay. So like like one of the metaphors is like picturing the air, picturing hitting the back of your teeth or the back of your top teeth with air.
Okay.
So like you're singing, you're like, you're trying to place the where you think, if the breath was like an arrow, you'd want it to hit the back of your teeth.
Absolutely.
And like that's a common one, but or like picturing that there's like your voice is actually like kind of above and in front of your forehead, and like so trying to get it to sound like there, you're singing up to it, and like a lot of it makes absolutely no sense until you start doing it, and you're like, oh, okay, I get this now.
What would you say your octave range is then?
Oh, I have no clue.
You have no clue?
No, I don't have a low range. I can't sing low to sing.
No, it's a high range for sure.
Yeah.
But you also have not necessarily a scream, but there is a guttural, a melodic, it's almost like a vocal punch, dude. Like when you break down, so like say In Too Deep, for me, I'll keep going back to that in a way, right? Mm-hmm. Because it's just like fuck, da, 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 da. Like, it's so powerful. And the way that you do it, and you don't necessarily scream at all.
No.
But you sing so forcefully, then it's just as effective.
Yeah. I think a big thing for me is like, I've never been like huge into screaming or any sort of like really like kind of vocals, and not to say that, I don't like that stuff, but like it's just never fit what I hear in my head for our music. And so like getting that kind of like power, but also being clean is, it's a real challenge. We'll do like 90 takes when we're doing shit in the fucking studio, and so.
What song? Because you had a soul producer for Fission.
We actually had two. We had two producers.
Really? Yeah. Yep. Okay. So, and they're collaborating through the whole process, or did some producers produce on a couple songs, or one producer you produce on a couple songs, and who's the majority producer?
Majority producer was Anton DeLost.
Okay, and he's produced other artists. What other artists?
He's done Cleopatra, Royal Blood. I know he's written.
Okay, so he's done this. Okay, he's almost like the Ross. What's his name? I'm blanking.
Rick Ross? No, not Rick
Ross. and not Rick Rubin either. Yeah. But there was a guy who basically produced all the new metal bands back in the 90s. He was like the go-to producer, right? Of Korn and Deftones and stuff. And so when you're mentioning all the bands, and I'm like, hey, these bands here, they're similar but different, right? You guys are all part of a class that I don't even know if it exists, right? Because you're all on that same wavelength of where you feel like you need to push rock forward.
Yeah.
And, and I think you're right. And that's basically, it's kind of like a blowback to any previous trend. Everything's cyclical when it comes to trends. And we've had over a decade of electronic push, right?
Right. Yeah.
And now it's like, let's get back to the guitars. You know, and really the core of what rock music is. And you're seeing, like, I have a high school daughter, she just graduated high school. You're seeing all their kids gravitate towards that music as well, and I'm here for it.
Like
You know,
Deftones is having a massive resurgence. I mean, even though they're not a new band, you know, it's like
all of
that
it.
guitar driven music. Yeah, I absolutely, you know, obviously I love the fact that it's moving that way, you know, and I think that that's why we initially like connected with kind of guitar driven music. Was it was like when we all started out, we loved, you know, a lot of the grunge bands and like early 2000s stuff, but it like kind of shifted into this like kind of depressing territory of like Ford commercial music, stomp, clap, chant about, you know, we're gonna take back the night or whatever. You know, it's just overly like there's no soul to this. You know, it's like what are we saying here? That's why I think it fell out of favor initially, is because it's just like it wasn't saying anything. And then you had these, you know, Royal Blood and Highly Suspect and Nothing But Thieves kind of came out of nowhere.
Right.
And they were kind of like, when we started becoming a band and finding our sound, they were like the first 3 bands to really be like, hey, like rock needs to evolve. It's like this music needs to not sound like it did.
Yes.
And you know, that was huge for us because we had felt that, you know, we were like, we need to do something different here, you know? And so when those bands initially did that, we were like, sick. Yeah. Like that. And so it's been awesome that, you know, we have these, just rock is finally, you know, it's more than 5 bands. You know, you're finding so many good bands now, like Idols and Turnstile are just like having these massive moments now. And like,
and Turnstile have been around for over 20 years.
Exactly.
And finally getting your moment. Yeah. So, you know, it's like a rebirth of grunge without it being a retread of grunge.
Right.
You know, and that's, again, a beautiful thing. And then be part of that class moving it forward.
Right.
Is something that's very exciting. And that's why I feel like the sky is the limit. And you mentioned those 3 bands, Highly Suspect is almost kind of like the Godfathers in a way, even though they're still a young band.
Yeah.
Right. But you never know what next 10 years, the landscape, you know, with all the festivals and how big festivals are doing. And, you know, the energy that a great rock band brings to a festival is like no other. And eventually there's a generation of kids who have been literally dancing to the same beat for like 10 years that will come around and say, oh yeah, no, I want to be a part of this.
Right.
And you've already done a bunch of festivals like over in the UK. And so what's the biggest festival you've done?
I think the biggest one we've done is either a Rock Worcester, which is in Belgium, or Pink Pop. I think those are the 2 biggest.
And how they respond to you over there?
Insane, dude.
Really? Yeah.
It's awesome.
Are you much bigger over there right now than here?
I would say we're probably about 50% bigger over there than we are over here right now. And I think a large part of it's due to the fact that cross-genre festivals are way more accepted and like desired in Europe. You know, it's like when people go to shows, they're not just like, I'm here for a rock festival. It's like, I want to see every type of music that I can, you know? And that's what's so beautiful about like something like Pink Pop, is that we had like, you know, just like pop, pop, pop. And then it was like rock, and then like folk music and all this different stuff that was just like, you know, like that's what music is. Everybody listens to everything now. So it's like, why are festivals still clinging to like genre-based stuff, you know? And so, you know, Pink Pop was the biggest shock for us because we were the first band on that day, and we were at the smaller stage.
Yeah.
And we went and sound checked, and there was maybe like 15 people, you know, like 45 minutes before we go on. Like, I was like, you know what? At least I can say I've played Pink Pop. You know, it's been a dream of mine since I was little, and, you know, it's like, whatever, it's good. So I went back to the green room, and I was sitting there, and I started doing my warm-ups and stuff, and it's getting time. So I start heading back to the stage. And like my manager comes from around the curtain, and he's like, or the backdrop, and he's like, there's a lot of people out there. I was like, what do you mean? He was like, there's a lot. I leaned over, and I think we had about 8,000 people watching us for that set. And I was like, oh my God, dude.
They're ready for you. They're waiting, ready. The buzz got out, or they went there to see you. Yeah. And then how'd they react throughout the set?
So we got an encore, which was,
that's beautiful.
Yeah, and the stage manager said we'd had, you know, the best show and crowd that entire stage for that weekend. So
I'm sure
it was huge.
You're bringing a different energy to the stage, you know, and it's one that you can't fake. and no matter how loud you crank up the speakers or the monitors, right?
Yeah.
And it's something magical about a band being in sync like that, and the electricity that it puts out, metaphorically and literally as well.
We try, man. We try.
And doing a good job. How do you pronounce? This is how I try to tell people about the album that I fell in love with. Which every song, like Coda and In Too Deep, they end with periods and they begin with periods. So I want you to explain that. But how do you even say the title? This is how I describe it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Is that the name of the
every
album?
radio DJ's and marketing person's worst nightmare.
Like, what are you trying to do, man?
Yeah.
Well, first off, you name yourself Dead Poet Society, which obviously there's a very famous film from the same region that you're from. So you haven't done yourself a lot of favors in.
Oh, dude,
we've
made it as hard as for ourselves as humanly possible, man. It's just, when I joined the band, I was like, yo, we need to change the name. And then other Jack was like, I already made the Facebook page. I was like, all right, man.
Guess we're in.
I guess
there's no fucking way that we can change the page. We already got 52 followers.
Yeah, exactly.
It's done.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, I mean, all of us are kind of like, well, we're stuck with that one, but we continue to find ways to make it harder for ourselves. So yeah, that album doesn't have a name.
Okay, so for anyone who's watching this, it's shit, dude. I got to figure out it's a semicolon.
It's a dash.
Yeah, okay.
An exclamation point and a dash.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I mean, in a way, also, if you were like texting, it could almost look dirty, like if you were sexting.
Right.
Yeah. It's like a dick with flat balls.
Don't send it to your mom or something. Yeah.
Right. And so there is no necessarily name to it, or what's the untitled name for you?
I don't have one. I mean, when we were promoting the album, the record label was pretty frustrated, and they were like, "We got to call it something." So I was like, "Exclamation album." Okay. But it's not. It's not.
Okay, yeah. That is that's just what it is. It's just dash, exclamation point, dash.
Right. And if you're texting it to somebody, which that's what everybody does now, it's very easy to recognize this that bum. You got it. And and so that was kind of like an idea behind it. It was just like, well, we want something that's also our logo and the title of this album and everything. And that just when we listened to the music over that, it was like it fits so perfectly. And we were like, well, that's it.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it's very artistic. So, what is the idea behind having? I think is it every song on the album that starts with period, ends with period?
Yeah, every single one except for "Never Loved Myself Like I Loved You." Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So why every song?
It's just trying to be artsy fartsy, dude. It's just some dumb shit.
That's the Berklee school coming out of you guys.
Yeah.
It's like we got to show that we earned this tuition or whatever.
Right.
It's got to pay for something.
Yeah.
It gave us periods.
Just make it harder for people to find. Make it as hard as humanly possible.
That's what you're doing, dude. It's
no wonder why it took us 10 years.
Well, and at least you still got the Facebook page, and the Facebook page is still Dead Poet Society, the band, right? So you can't even you couldn't even just do Dead Poet Society.
No, it's Dead Poet Society band. Yeah. So what are you gonna do, man? And everybody knows Facebook is still the most relevant platform. So
I know. Now, I mean, you gotta always, as a band, you always gotta make content, right? So you're constantly on Instagram and whatnot, right?
Yeah. I mean, we kind of suck at it, but
Yeah, you're trying to work on that.
Yeah, I think. I mean, for this album cycle, we've been a bit better about it. It's just that I find so much of it fucking so cringe. You know, it's just like I can't stand it when somebody's sitting in their car listening to their own fucking music, being like, "Check out this chorus." Right. It's like, shut up, dude.
Yeah.
I fucking hate it. So it's like when we were doing some of the, the short form content for it, we were just like, all right, let's be very careful. Let's keep it in the realm of like not cringe or as not cringe as we can be and like keep the vibe of the album up. And so we were on it for like, the first month or so of the album, and then touring started, and then all your motivation goes out the window because you're just focused on the shows and stuff.
It is such a energy suck, and but with how did your label push you to like put out this stuff? Because I know that's kind of the music business now. They're like, no, you got to do this amount of TikToks, this amount of Instagram reels. Basically, you got to be your own marketing department. That's what we're not paying you for.
Yeah. And I get it. I understand it. I'm not like, we're not, our label's been so amazing to us. And so like, but they definitely were pushing like, hey, you guys got to keep doing the TikTok content and everything. And you know what's interesting though is I have a friend in LA who's deep in the songwriting scene there, and she was saying that
what's her name?
Her name's Alex Nobley.
Okay.
Yeah, she's a amazing songwriter.
Right.
Incredible.
Yeah.
She was saying that TikToks and stuff like that isn't having the same effect that it used to have. It's like people are, you know, a flash in the pan down to like even a few days of like you get a sick song and then you're gone, you know? And so I've heard that, you know, I don't know if this is verified, but like a lot of labels are starting to look back into like artist development, like the way, you know, we did it and stuff like that. And so, you know, because it's like they can't get people to sustain their income.
Yeah. Right. You're right. I mean, for a minute there, you know, it was the cash grab and how bands got established. I mean, I know several bands personally that actually, you know, resurrected their career and put them on a platform they were never at before because of TikTok.
Yeah.
Right. But then, of course, they had the falling out with UMG, and then they had to like negotiate that, and so they had to pull music and get music back, and they're fucking with the algorithm.
What band was this? Can you say?
Yeah, Mother.
Oh, Mother. Okay, yeah.
You familiar with them?
Yeah.
They blew the fuck up, dude.
Yeah.
And they were a band as well that I fell in love with. I was playing on my radio show on my station up in Phoenix for years, and we were selling out shows for them in Phoenix, but they weren't selling anywhere else in the country. And you know, and then pandemic hit, and I, you know, talking with the lead singer Ryan, it kind of felt like, okay, we're just going to continue to do this a little bit, but we're also living life. Yeah, it seemed like they were kind of at the end of the road. They were a little frustrated by it.
Yeah,
and then pandemic hit and they blew up, and they've been
so sick.
They've been touring nonstop,
That's
and
awesome.
with a whole new generation of kids, you know.
That's
so
awesome.
Playing bigger and better venues. So yeah, I've seen it, and I see the importance, but also know that you know, just like everything. They change the algorithm, and if other people are benefiting too much from it, and they're like, wait a second, as a company, TikTok, like, no, we need to suck the blood out of everything,
right?
So you can't get too successful now.
Yeah,
but just make sure everyone gets a little bit,
right?
Something like that.
Yeah, and I've heard from a lot of like content creators that TikTok is kind of more pay to play now. It's like people are starting to switch back over to Instagram for reels and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, it's like an ever evolving world that I have yet to wrap my head around.
No, so, I know. I think
I'm like 6 years too late to it.
No, I think the magic of your content, if you're to create that, is just to capture performances, snippets of your songs, or, you know, whether you're doing like little acoustic sets, things like that. Right. It's your guys' talent and your songs that set you apart from the rest. I don't think you need bells and whistles. I don't think you need to do kind of funny skits or any of that bullshit.
If it makes my stomach not up, then I know it's not right, dude. Yeah. Did we film one video in our practice space that was so like TikTok oriented and everything? And we were like getting ready to post it. We were all just looking at it. We were like, oh, dude, no. We know what we don't want.
I like that as well. The self-awareness and, you know, and just not wanting to come off like those guys. It brings the authenticness to you. Even more so, it shines through. Yeah. So, what's your favorite song to play off of this album, this latest one?
I Hope You Hate Me is probably my favorite to play.
Really?
Yeah, just because of that ending.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it's just when you get that fuck, and then like everybody starts jumping, and like
yeah, nice.
It's awesome.
Nice. And what's been the biggest surprise to you as far as a song that people react to when you're playing live that you didn't expect? And you're kind of seeing a universal reaction beyond the singles.
Running in Circles, I would say, or beyond the singles.
Yeah, because Running in Circles has been a very successful single for you so far, the most successful that you've had on commercial radio.
Yeah, it has, which is actually, I mean, to be honest, it was kind of a surprise to us because, you know, when we first put it out, we were like, I don't know. It's
been a slow bubble, you know, and rock radio needs songs like that, you know?
Yeah.
And honestly, that wasn't even my favorite song on the record. I like the song.
Yeah, it wasn't mine either.
What was your favorite song on the record? Oh, the one you just said.
Well, that one I love to play the most live, but I think my favorite off the record would either have to be Black and Gold or LA Queen.
Yeah.
Those two for me, Black and Gold especially.
Yeah. Is there like kind of sentimental meaning behind it that you like about it, or a certain arrangement? Because that's usually with artists, their favorite will be either what the song means to them or the difficulty of the arrangement, that as a musician you're like, that's fucking pretty tits.
I think LA Queen for the lyrical content for me, and then and then like Black and Gold just because it felt so us,
Yeah.
like that was just like this is like our core of what we do.
Yeah, this is who we are. This is our calling card. Yeah.
Yeah, which we're still trying to get it down live. We won't play it until it sounds right, but yeah, it's a challenging one, dude. It's hard.
What makes it so challenging? Because there's little electronic drums to that, or
yeah, I mean, no, there's no electronic drums. It's all analog, but it's like it's the it's just playing and singing it. There's a lot of shit that doesn't line up, and then also the tones. Like Anton just absolutely knocked the tones out of the park. So it's like if we're gonna do the tones, then they got to sound right,
right?
And it's just a really challenging song to play and sing, and so we're gonna get it down. It's gonna go off live. I can't wait, but yeah.
Oh, that'll be nice once you finally bust it out. Now, okay, you're wrapping up this tour.
Yep.
So is there going to be a little bit of downtime, and then I imagine it's right back to work? What's the foreseeable future in 2024 for Dead Poets Society?
So we have 2 months that are off, quote unquote. But
what are you gonna do during that time?
Just write every day.
Yeah.
We're
already working on the next record.
Yeah, we don't want to let up off the gas. And,
fucking love that, dude.
Yeah.
Well, you put out like numerous EPs, and then these 2 full lengths, which stellar from front to back and on both of them. So and you're trying to. Is there a goal date of trying to put out another album before the end of the year or early?
Not before the end of the year, I don't think. It takes us a while to write music. That's why we're getting on it right away. But like, I think it was Bruce Springsteen that says like, nobody cares how long it takes you to get your second album out if it's bad, you know? And so like applying that philosophy to our third album, it's like we're going to work diligently, but it's going to come out when it comes out. And we're aiming for sometime next year.
Are you looking to work with the same producers as well?
That's been a point of discussion. Anton is absolutely amazing, but we don't really know what we want yet. And so, And so we're not locking anybody down at the moment. Yeah.
Do you feel like being on the road and touring, doing all these festivals, playing with a bunch of bands on these festivals, hearing all the different acts and stuff, has inspired you musically to go in different directions?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like as you get older, your taste changes and like things evolve and you like things more than you did. It's like when we first started out, we were kind of like blues rock kind of stuff.
Yeah, it was very bluesy for sure.
Very bluesy. And actually I think one of the songs off of the next album is going to be very much down that like low air rain, but it's like you just kind of let the music come to you, like that's one thing that we've always been prided ourselves on, and it's been both gift and a curse is that it's just like if a song ends up being super poppy, let it be poppy. Don't try to bring it somewhere just to sound a certain way, and that throughout our career has been like labels have like passed on us because they're still finding their sound. It's like, no, you don't get it. We're not going to play straight up rock music. It's like we're going to do other stuff too. That and we kind of sucked, but it's like, but
you're still finding your sound. Oh, maybe they were a little right. No,
no, not at all. But yeah, it's just like we like such a wide array of music that it's just like, if the next album ends up being like Afro-Cuban jazz, then it's going to be Afro-Cuban jazz, So it's just, we're going to write whatever we feel.
And then it will just be an emoji for the title. And then,
it's just going to be like, a flag or something. Yeah.
I love it, dude. All right, well, we're gonna have to wrap this up because I know you got to get back to the show. But I like to thank you for hanging out with me, dude.
Thanks, man. Thank you for having me.
No problem. Okay, so let's see. In summary, and I was seeing where we're going, so we know what's going to happen for the next year. You're going to be writing. I know I was going to ask you, like, do you write from a dark place? You find yourself writing from a dark place, and do you can you write when you're happy?
So that is a anxiety of mine.
Right, when you're happy, because you don't want to be too cheesy, right?
Right, exactly.
Right.
I think but the thing is, it's just like as life comes at you, because you don't, it's just it comes at you no matter what. It's just like it's gonna hand you shit constantly, and so I think that finding a place where it's just like, I think it's easier for me to write when I'm sad because it's a therapy.
Yeah.
For me, I feel the most motivated to write when I'm in a hole, you know, but the music also brings me a lot of joy. So it's kind of existing in two different states. And so like I'm, a lot better now mentally than I was before. And um I think that it's just a matter of getting into that mindset of what brings out the most authentic thing.
But yeah, have you ever find yourself subconsciously putting yourself in dark places just so you could be creative and like almost kind of self-sabotaging to where you're like, I just ruined this date and now I'm depressed. Like shit, did I do that on purpose to get depressed?
I don't have to use music to do that, man. I self-sabotage that's my motto, man. Self-sabotage.
If you were to put together a festival lineup yourself, who's headlining with you? Who are some bands that you want to share the stage with?
Oh my gosh. Can they be dead too?
Sure.
I think number one headliner would be XXXTentacion.
Oh yes,
that Question Mark album was one of the best things I've ever heard.
That's such a and that's crazy that you say that too, because obviously that's a hip hop album, but not really, right?
No,
it's very
it's
experimental. A lot of singing harmonies. That's a beautiful album.
I think for like the 2010s and stuff like that, he's like the Jeff Buckley of that era. And personally, that's how I feel. Where it's just like he came out with some amazing shit and then just goodbye,
and got sniped. Unfortunately, I remember Kanye West saying that he was like his biggest influence, right? Like XXXTentacion was Kanye's biggest influence, and of course he was like 15 years younger, right?
It's insane, dude. I mean, just like just the prolificness, I guess maybe that's not the right word, but it's just like the music that he came out with in such a short period of time was just like, what the fuck, dude? It's just so amazing. And he would definitely be the headliner. And then Idols is a huge band. I love that band. It's my favorite band right now. So I definitely want them on the festival. Royal Blood is, one of my favorite bands of all time. I definitely want them, and who else have I been listening to? I mean, I just run down all my favorite bands. Turnstile, Muse.
Did that? So listening to hip hop albums and stuff, does that influence the way you write? Did you work on rhyme schemes too?
I honestly don't listen to that much hip hop. I mean, I listened to like a lot of Mac Miller. I listened to a lot of XXX.
Yeah.
And when I was in college, I listened to a lot of Kanye. But that was really it for me for a lot of it, but I think that for our music, definitely Will has a massive, like R&B, hip hop, jam band kind of background,
right?
And so,
which is always an interesting dynamic too. Could go from jam band, R&B, hip hop, and stuff because you got something that's so tight and like kind of 4/4, right? And then jam band is like woo, like jazz almost.
Well, I think that's what another thing that we've been like really fortunate with is Will's like his hip hop background, because it's just like, it feels good. We like write music that makes us want to move. And like that's such a huge thing with him. It's just like it all feels like fucking tight, It's like, and
it has bounce to it. There's a lot of the songs are just like fuck, that's why I can't wait for tonight. I'll be old man head nodding like hard. Like my neck's gonna be fucking sore, that's my dance move, but I'm ready for it.
Man, get ready, dude. Neck problems.
Exactly. That could be the name of your next album. Neck problems.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Well, let's wrap this up so we can get to Congress. But Jack, thank you so much, dude, for not only sitting down with me, but you and your boys putting together fantastic music. I believe the sky's the limit. I'm fanatic, and I'm going to continue to push and spread that gospel wherever I go on the radio, as long as you keep on cranking out good tunes. So
we will,
I know
man.
it's going to happen.
Thank you.
No problem. All right. Well, thanks for watching this podcast. Like, subscribe, and all that bullshit, right?